Hello, lovely beings. I'm Lizz Grace, astrologer, fashion designer, and your host for Galactic Mythology. Today, we're going to dissect the coming total solar eclipse on April 8th. The chart we will be discussing is set to Burnet, Texas at 1:34 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is the location of the Texas Eclipse Festival, and it is smack dab in the middle of the ecliptic viewing zone. There's going to be a lot of energy going towards this location in America, and therefore I find it significant to report on. So what can we glean from this snapshot of our solar system set to this exact time, date, and location? As above, so below. The ascendant of this chart is at 28 degrees of Cancer, making the ruler of this chart none other than the moon, who is eclipsing the sun. Solar eclipses occur during the new moon cycle of the moon's orbit around the Earth. During this point in the cycle, the moon appears either as a tiny sliver in the sky or hardly at all, symbolizing the void. This energy implies new beginnings, which only emphasizes the Aries theme for this chart and for the total solar eclipse. Oddly enough, the solar eclipse totality point occurs within 19 degrees of Aries. That means that the sun and the moon are exactly conjunct one another at 19 degrees, with Chiron close behind, also within 19 degrees of Aries. This is odd because Chiron went retrograde at the degree 19 degrees of Aries back in July of 2023. And here he is, back at it again. But this time he brought a guest, the solar eclipse. Some of you may recall from my last episode that I read the Chandra symbol for this degree. Chandra symbols are similar to Sabian symbols, as they are channeled and written symbols for each degree of the zodiac. Chandra symbols were channeled by a man named John Sandbach and can be found in his book, The Circular Temple. I like to read Chandra symbols because I find that they help express the energy of a particular being or time, and they tend to add another layer to the astrological matrix that I find insightful. I'll replay the clip of me reciting the 20th degree Chandra symbol here. So we are going to look at the Chandra symbol for 20 degrees of Aries. An empty courtyard. Before change can happen, there must be a place prepared inside so that the new may enter. Celebration is the acknowledgement that something important has occurred and that it should be honored. But once the celebration is over, the way is clear for the next step of the journey. Blessed with the colors of the recent triumph, the confetti lying in the streets is about what is over. The empty courtyard is about what is coming. And this degree stands at the crossroads of that time of renewal, acknowledging the past and open to the future. Now, remember, in symbol systems, we round up because the minutes in the degrees push us closer to the other degree. I have heard that if you have a planet or point exactly on a degree, for example, 3 degrees, 0 minutes, you don't need to round up. That's the only exception at 0 minutes. I'm not the one that makes the rules, I just follow them. New beginnings, new moon Aries solar eclipse. With the ruler of this particular chart, the moon conjunct the MC line in Aries. This chart means serious business, as in new soul contracts being signed. The MC in this equal sign chart is in the 9th house, along with a stellium of other significant luminaries and planets, such as the North Node, Chiron, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, and the slow and icy trans-Neptunian asteroid Eris. This is quite the spread, all in the 9th house, expressing and emphasizing Jupiterian ideals, such as higher thought, expansion of consciousness, and evaluation of core belief systems. This energy can also suggest inflammation, such as inflamed ideas and gregarious deliveries. Here's a social forecast for the people attending the Texas Solar Eclipse Festival. The chart suggests people feeling courageous enough to shoot from the hip and to share big ideas with little to no filters, embodying that fiery spirit of Aries and Sagittarius. Great breakthroughs will occur, no doubt. And that is the beauty of this energy. The delivery methods may not be conventional, but the sentiment of the message will be delivered. Therefore, new actions can be made with the recipient's response. And what exactly is that response? Well, that is unique to the individual at the event. And I am only an astrologer reading the energy embedded in the symbols represented for this chart at this exact time and place. And with this in mind, we can dive back into discussing the Cancer rising, which is at 28 degrees 40 minutes of this quadrant equal house chart. And all this Cancer energy is trining the infamous planet Neptune over there in the sign of Pisces in the 8th house by less than a degree. Now, I already mentioned the Jupiterian ideals with the Sag energy and the 9th house, but Neptune is a double dose beyond Jupiter. We are talking ideals so perfect that they will never quite compare with the present material reality around us. But hey, that's okay. That's the stuff that dreams are made of. And dreams do have a way of creeping into our realities. Thus, the dual nature of the sign of Pisces, the modern domicile for the planet Neptune. Pisces is dual because it is both the afterlife and the pre-birth life. Pre-birth life. That sounds pretty clunky, but we'll go with it. Aries, the ram, is birth. Spring, the sprouting of the seed from the womb. But Pisces, that's pre-birth energy. That's the stuff that we cannot see. And for most of us, it's stuff that we cannot even remember. So carrying on, unseen forces will be at work at this event. So please keep yourself aware of tricksters who will use partial truths to capture and contain you into their worlds. On a lighter note, many ancestors will be gathering to show their support and presence for this significant energy vortex that will be ripped open in the center of Texas. And I'm speaking both physically and metaphysically. I know that the production teams that put together the eclipse festivals make an effort to contact local tribes of the land and have them incorporated in the event in some way. But there will be ancestors participating from different timelines of the earth. That's right, I'm talking spirits. Let me explain more. So as we explore the Cancer rising for this solar eclipse chart, we can be reminded that the moon is connected to our subconscious and to ancestral lineage that we carry forward in our DNA and in our spiritual etheric bodies. The moon in astrology is linked to habits, and we can associate habits with our ancestors. The facts are, even if you are an orphan or someone who has never met their blood family, you are still affected by their habitual patterns, similar to how all humans are affected by the rotation of the moon around the earth. On an esoteric level, the influence of the moon over the human body suggests that the human vessel is directly related to the moon. And the blood that fills our veins directly links you to your ancestors. And therefore, whether you like it or not, you are influenced by them. With this being understood, your subconscious has been pre-programmed with all the triumphs and traumas of your ancestors throughout centuries and lifetimes. And very often, we choose to incarnate onto this earth to bend the energy of a specific ancestral lineage. Has anyone ever noticed that the word ancestor or ancestral has the word astral in it? And has anyone ever noticed that ancestral and astral are phonetically similar? Because I am. All this Neptune and Jupiter energy has got me thinking a lot and making a lot of connections. It's pretty crazy. But back to the beautiful notion of the Cancer rising and this eclipse. Whatever goes down at this Texas Eclipse Festival has the potential to heal generations of ancestors or to stir them up in a rip-roaring tyrannical way. Thousands of people are going to be pilgrimaging to Burnet, Texas from all over the world, bringing along their moon signs and all of their ancestors along with them. Kind of like Chiron at the 19th degree of Aries, bringing the solar eclipse to the party. Oh snap, move over the moon's nodes. Chiron has got this solar eclipse handled. No, we all know that the solar eclipse cannot happen without the mythologically scientific points in the sky known as the moon's north and south nodes, or Rahu and Ketu, the dragon's head and tail if we are speaking Vedic astrology. But Chiron really does seem to take a large part of the cake on this one. And Chiron deserves to eat some cake. He's achieved a lot in his legacy, with saving humanity and all. For those of you who don't know, Chiron replaces Prometheus in being eternally pinned down to a boulder to have his liver eaten by the giant eagle named Aquila, only to regrow his liver every day to have it eaten again. Quick refresher on the Prometheus myth. Prometheus brought fire to humanity, which is similar to that of a technological advance, because mankind's tools advanced with the introduction of fire, bringing along with it the harnessing of metals. To Zeus, Prometheus gave a lighter to a 2-year-old and then left them alone in a blanket fort. A morally skeptical act indeed. Despite all this, Chiron went to Zeus and asked if he could replace Prometheus on the boulder. Replacing Prometheus would force Chiron to renounce his immortality and god-born status, which to Chiron was well worth the sacrifice, since humanity could continue to explore the element of fire and Prometheus would be forgiven for his deviance. This eclipse is asking us to join Chiron. Will you join Chiron? The one who came down from his astral ancestral perch in the heavens to relieve Prometheus, the premature fire giver? Remember what I said in the beginning? Something will be delivered. May it be fire in the form of inspiration, or may it be spirited words to a friend. Certainly, something is coming that will shift folks at the Texas Eclipse Festival and the globe. The ethers are rich with primordial essence, diving back into the notions of pre-birth energy. The atmosphere is rich for manifestation, and I can imagine that the Texas Eclipse Festival as an event will produce many synchronicities and miraculous encounters. But with the same coin is the other side, and I ask people who are attending to be aware of the ripe chemistry in the air. This is baby-making energy, and as exciting and creative as baby-making can be, let us remember our ancestors and that the choices that we make in these bodies go beyond these bodies. Now, we talked a lot about the moon, but what about the sun? This is a solar eclipse and all. The sun is in Aries and at that fateful 19th degree. The Chandra symbol for this degree mentions the clearing of space, which is very fitting for the visual effect of the moon blocking out the sun. For a brief moment, the moon will stand in the place of the sun and enable a quick flash of Aries lunar energy upon the beings who witness the eclipse and beyond. This Aries lunar energy will be extra juiced by the power of the Aries solar energy behind it, meaning your shadows will be illuminated, like a puppet show behind a sheet. A source of light behind the sheet strengthens the shadows that appear from the various hand and stick puppets being used in the show. Aries energy is generalized as bold and assertive. Emotions are not the typical Aries strong suit. With that being said, have you cleaned out your closet lately? Because any skeletons you forgot will be revealed at this eclipse. As mentioned, people at this event will feel empowered to express themselves. However, I believe for those who do not choose the path of self-care, patience, and reflection, which are Cancerian traits, they may find that their ego Aries ram head is taking on too much of the attention. This could be seen as people spinning out in personal crises or experiencing personality breaks due to a lack of rest and integration of spirit. The Aries energy will be inspiring people to push themselves beyond their limits, and the rising sign for this chart is Cancer, putting that rising sign and the totality of this eclipse in a loose square with one another. Beyond that, the Cancer rising is in a close 4-degree square with retrograde Mercury and Eris at 24 degrees of Aries. How fitting that she would be at the party as well, Miss Goddess of Discord herself. She's hanging out with the misfit Mercury retrograde just to spice things up a little bit more. This suggests that people may be finding themselves having to repeat things over and over again, such as tasks, words, and duties. With this being said, the patron should expect delays. Mercury is a god associated with short distance travel, and Sagittarius is associated with long distance travel, both heavy themes that are in this chart. And with Mercury retrograde, words that start with R-E are key here, such as remember, patience. And historically at these events, the wait times to enter and exit are very large, sometimes spanning over 12 hours. Mercury retrograde is asking you all to prepare for delays, and they are also asking for you to be impeccable with your word. Mercury's date is Eris, and she has a temper that you do not want to cross. Eris respects those that are inclusive and responsible for their own energy. Be kind to one another. Leave no trace and leave the place better than when you found it. You do not want to get on Eris's bad side. There is also a very strong Mars and Saturn energy in this chart. Saturn and Mars are less than a degree away from one another at the time of the solar eclipse, and they are residing within the sign of Pisces. Saturn and Mars are considered the malefic planets in Hellenistic astrology, which is generally seen as not a positive thing. I imagine two lobbyists for big pharma and petroleum. Stone cold, strategic, and legally untouchable. This sort of energy only amplifies all the fire being thrown around. However, these two are in the watery sign of Pisces. Thank goodness. But they are still present and hanging out. They're here taking notes behind the scenes in the realm of the unseen. Pisces. They're creating an action plan for you and your shadow puppets over there in the 8th house of secrets. How ominous. Venus in the solar eclipse chart is in the early degrees of Aries. But let's rewind back to the lunar eclipse that occurred on March 25th. Venus was hanging out with Saturn in Pisces. And during this eclipse on March 25th, the sun and the moon opposed one another. Yes, it was a full moon in Libra, and the sun snuck in front of the moon for a brief moment, signifying the light and the darkness and giving the creatures of the night a good scare. As mentioned in my last episode, Collective Dark Night of the Soul, we have been going through the throes of various challenges on all levels and dimensions, which I notably coined a collective dark night of the soul. I suggest checking out that episode for more explanation on that, along with more words on Chiron and his link to ancestral healing, which is also a very important theme in this solar eclipse chart in Aries. I bring this episode up in relation to the lunar eclipse that occurred on the 25th because Venus represents our desires along with material pleasures. In astrology, she plays a strong role in stock market predictions, so Venus means money. For those of us who have been living in the States, we've noticed that inflation increased over this specific time period, March 25th, 2024, which in effect heightened levels of material insecurity in our collective. Pisces is also a sign associated with prisons and asylums, isolation, and victimization. Venus in Pisces conjunct Saturn elevated thoughts of victimization. This energy only amplified the dark night of the soul vibe that was going on since Chiron went retrograde back in July of 2023. Well, friends, on April 8th, that collective dark night of the soul will come to an end. The sun will be behind the moon, and for those creatures of the night, they will be seen for what they really are. Mars being conjunct Saturn for this solar eclipse on April 8th suggests actions along with closures. This is why I opened the episode with stating new soul contracts are going to be signed. And one more thing before I sign off. Since this is such a Jupiter-centric chart with the 9th house stellium, let's look to Jupiter and Taurus. And my, oh my, would you look at that? It's at the 19th degree. To add another layer to this, the number 19 in numerology has the energy of the number 1, because 1 plus 9 equals 10, and 1 plus 0 equals 1. The energy of 1 is I am energy, akin to Aries. Moving on, this I am energy is in Taurus. That is loosely conjunct Uranus, but we're focusing on Jupiter here, in Taurus at the 19th degree. So let's look at the Chandra symbol for 19 degrees and 2 minutes, rounded up to 20 degrees of Taurus. In the Omega symbol, we see a built-in preordained pattern. In the Chandra symbol, the way is open. We don't know how to proceed, for we aren't being guided. The preordained pattern will produce a known result, but it's mechanical, predictable, and, if repeated too often, becomes dull and boring. The lack of a signpost in the Chandra symbol can be frustrating, even scary, but it forces us to use our knowing, to explore, to live beyond the map, the preordained pattern. Now, the Omega symbol being referred to in this Chandra symbol is yet another symbol system that John Sonnenbach uses, well, rather created. And you can find all of the different symbols that he uses because he has created an Omega symbol, a Pleiadian symbol, a Chandra symbol, and an Azoth symbol for each degree of the zodiac. And they're all within this book, The Circular Temple. And I suppose we might as well read the Omega symbol just to get some more clarity, right? So, the Omega symbol, a man performing a complicated weaving pattern from memory. You know, you can know just what to do as long as you avoid getting in the way of yourself. Conscious and rational decisions making often doesn't work for you. But when you turn off your mind and go with your impulses, your creativity can emerge beautifully and carry you through even the most difficult of situations. The path is uncertain. The influences cannot be seen. Something is coming. What exactly that is, we're not sure. And as long as we do not stand in the way of ourselves, we'll find out. And how do we not stand in the way of ourselves? Well, I suggest that we take some time in remembering who we are. Pre-birth energy, primordial essence, light beings, energy that goes beyond these bodies. I suggest that we sit with ourselves in stillness. And I suggest that we listen to that little voice in the background of our heads. It's usually the one that's not barking at us, such as the one known as the monkey mind. We remember that our physical reality is a reflection of our inner reality, and that there is nowhere to hide. You have the right to feel empowered, but remember to listen to that inner voice, your intuition, and allow it to guide you. Minds will be barking loud on April 8th. Can you see through the puppet show? There is great potential for harmony at this event, the Texas Solar Eclipse, and the Aries Solar Eclipse itself, because the true remembering of who you are, or rather who we are, is that we are all one. And this Aries solar eclipse is significant because its ecliptic will be going over the melting pot of our world, America, the land of the free. I hope that you found my interpretation of the Aries solar eclipse insightful. I am looking forward to all the stories and discoveries that will be obtained from the event, the Texas Solar Eclipse, out there in Burnet, Texas. May you have a blessed evening, day, or morning. Lizz Grace signing off and wishing you the best on your journey.